Welcome to the Girl Scouts of Greater New York's 2020 Women of Distinction virtual event. Today, we celebrate the most powerful women leaders in New York City and introduce you to our very own future Woman of Distinction. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the volunteers, and the girls, thank you to our honorees, our donors, and all of you who are joining us virtually. I am so honored to introduce to you our very own Woman of Distinction, our moderator and lifetime Girl Scout, Katie Couric. Katie, thank you so much for being here and for being a role model for so many women and girls throughout your career.
Thank you, Meredith, so much. Hi, everyone. Yes, I've been a lifetime Girl Scout and very proud of it. It was such a formative experience for me, and I wish I could have worn my uniform, but sadly, I cannot fit into it anymore. I do have actually, my mom kept my Girl Scout sash with all my merit badges on it. And I wish I'd gotten it out of storage because I think it would have complemented my look. Because Meredith, I love the fact that you're wearing Girl Scout green. Meanwhile, you know, I was a Girl Scout back in excuse me. I was a Girl Scout back in the 1960s, if you can believe that. And I can only imagine how much the Girl Scouts have changed. And the mission for preparing girls to be leaders, real leaders in this increasingly complex world must be really challenging, especially during the times we're living in. How has scouting changed since I was a Girl Scout doing the Girl Scout pledge and going to Girl Scout camp?
Thank you for asking. And Katie, next time we get together, I'll hold you to bringing your uniform with you, and we'll share our green together. Girl Scouting today is not our mothers or our Girl Scouts. It is a Girl Scouting program for our daughters and their daughters. Of course, the values and the laws and promise are front and center of our mission to build girls of courage, confidence, and character. But our vision in New York City is to create a city in which every girl feels empowered to lead in her community, the workplace, and the world. For the 38,000 girls we serve in the 5 boroughs, we prioritize empowering them as leaders in STEM, business and entrepreneurship, the outdoors, and advocacy, equipping them with the tools, network, and confidence to succeed in any field. You know, this generation of women is like no other. And in times of great disruption, we need more women and girls at the table who unapologetically speak up, lead, and advocate for themselves and others in order to make the world a better place. Now, although today's event would typically be held in person, we now have a new way for us to showcase today's young volunteers and leaders and to celebrate powerful women who exemplify the Girl Scout values. As an organization, we must exemplify perseverance, resiliency, and flexibility. If our girls can go all virtual, so can we. So this morning, as you listen to our honorees, those at home will understand the value of the Girl Scout Network and the impact Girl Scouting has on the lives of girls as they become women. And at any time, for those of you at home during the program, when you are feeling inspired, you can pledge your support by texting WOD to 44321. Now, I know everyone is very excited to hear from Katie and our incredible panel. So Katie, thank you so much again, and back to you.
All right. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, everyone. So excited to honor some amazing women and also really here to celebrate the Girl Scouts of today who will indeed be the leaders of tomorrow. Welcome to this live Fireside chat, really celebrating 2020's Women of Distinction. We're here to celebrate New York City's powerful women leaders, and there are a lot of them, of course. These 7 women, though, our 2020 Women of Distinction, are leading us through a time of incredibly disruptive change, each in her own unique way. They're being honored because they're influential leaders in the industry and community who, through their deeds and actions, exemplify the leadership ideals found in the Girl Scouting. They're also inspiring the next generation of women leaders, including the 38,000 Scouts of New York City who are emerging as leaders in their communities today. So as a proud lifetime Girl Scout, as I mentioned, it's my pleasure to introduce our extraordinary honorees. And if I pronounce anybody's name wrong, please correct me because Girl Scouts sometimes make mistakes, and that's okay. So our first honoree is Mary DeGrazia, Associate Managing Director, Cyber Risk at Kroll. Linda Finette, Global Managing Director, Strategic Partnerships and Lead Benefit Auctioneer at Christie's Auction House, and author of the book with the title I love, by the way, The Most Powerful Woman in the Room is You. Susan Gharib, who is anchor and senior special correspondent and a longtime friend of mine at Fortune. We have Ty Heath, Director, Market Engagement, the B2B Institute at LinkedIn. Ty, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Hi, Heath.
Heath. These phonetic spellings are tripping me up a bit, but thank you, Ty. Thank you for correcting me. Ty Heath and Glenda McNeil, that's an easy one, President, Enterprise Strategic Partnerships at American Express, and May Tuan, founder and managing partner, Phoenix Partners, LLC, and founder, Notch Partners, LLC. And finally, Sherrilyn Ifill. She is the president and director of the NAACP Legal and Educational Defense Fund. I have the opportunity to sit down for an exclusive interview with Sherrilyn, who is doing such extraordinary, critically important work. We're going to hear more about her journey and her leadership a little later on in the program. Now, every October, as many of you know, the Future Woman of Distinction Award is given to a Gold Award Ambassador Girl Scout in New York City, who also represents the ideals inherent in Girl Scouting. This year's Future Woman of Distinction truly lives the mission of the Girl Scouts as she leads her community with courage, confidence, and character. So please join me in welcoming our 2020 Future Woman of Distinction, Despina Anastasio.
Good morning, Ms. Couric. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. Thank you. And I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing. This is such a tumultuous time in our country, but Girl Scouts are really prepared to take action. And I have to tell you, Despina, I'm so impressed with young people today. And I'm so happy that you're part of the Girl Scouts organization. Tell me how you've been able to take action in your community and use the leadership skills that you've been taught in Girl Scouts and apply them to your day-to-day life.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your kind words. For the past 2 years, I've been working alongside an organization called Dancing Dreams, which allows me to teach children with physical and mental disabilities the art of dance. But wanting to take this project even further, I advocated and collected 138 dance costumes to send to developing countries. However, recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, my attention turned to the elderly. I began my own nonprofit organization called Epistles for the Elderly, which connects teenagers across America to write personal letters about themselves, which I send to nursing homes across the United States. We have sent over 2,000 letters and continue to do so each day.
That is so awesome, Despina. I want to do a story on you. Susie, I got her first.
Go for it.
That is just awesome. Well, I mean, it sounds like you are really putting your time to incredibly good use. How old are you, Despina?
I'm 17 years old.
Wow. And do you have plans to head off to college yet? Or are you still considering?
Absolutely. And especially during this time, that is the only thing on my mind. With applications coming in November 1st.
Oh, gosh. Well, good luck. That's a stressful time, but you'll end up where you're supposed to be. That's what I told my daughters when they were applying, and it'll all work out, I'm sure. And you certainly have an impressive resume to work from already. So thank you so much. All right, now let's go to our next honoree. We're going to hear a little more, by the way, from Despina a bit later in the program, but let's speak with Woman of Distinction honoree, Lydia Finette. Lydia, hi, congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here today.
Well, we're thrilled to recognize you, honestly. It's all about you women today. So I'm just so happy to put a spotlight on you. You are the author of The Most Powerful Woman in the Room is You. You're also an auctioneer at Christie's Auction House. What do you think is the number one way girls can harness their power as leaders?
I truly believe that the best way for women, especially young women, to harness their power is to have confidence in their voice. It's right. It's why I wrote The Most Powerful Woman in the Room Is You, because as an auctioneer, I would get off stage and there would always be a young woman. And it was 99% of the time a young woman or a woman my age who would say, I could never stand on stage and ask for things. I could never do that. It's just not what we're taught. And I really started to dial that back and think about, how did I learn that lesson? I grew up in the South. My mother is British. I should not be somebody who asks for things freely. And it was interesting because when I started to think about the lessons that I learned and how I got to that place, I realized that that was what I was lacking. And then as I grew older and I gained confidence, that was when things really started to happen in my life. And so that is what I want young women to understand, that confidence, coming at life with confidence, is what opens doors. And until you have that, you're always going to be fearful about things in front of you. So have confidence in that voice and use it to help others, because that is what makes you feel confident, is to watch the doors that open for everyone as a result of what you have done.
But Lydia, I'm curious, you said as a young woman growing up in the South that you weren't necessarily a candidate for Confidence Central. So what was it that gave you that confidence? Because was it just doing things over and over, working, feeling more comfortable? Because that is a tough job, being an auctioneer and having everyone in the room look at you, and sometimes with probably a little bit of skepticism. You've got to really win over the room.
It's true. And I'm a charity auctioneer, so I'm not selling art. I'm selling puppies.
No, but still, even that, people are like, stay away from me.
It's absolutely true. Yeah. I mean, growing up in the South, it's very much about being a lady, right? And with a lady, and the way that I was sort of brought up, that was that you didn't push. You were never aggressive and you weren't asking for things, right? It was sort of smile and be there and be part of the conversation, but not necessarily leading it. And moving to New York at the age of 21 and becoming an auctioneer really helped me with that. And so a lot of it is practice. A lot of it is the work that you put into it, but a lot of it is also surrounding yourself with the right people. I do think that is a huge part of life. And this is frankly what Girl Scouts is about, right? It's about community. So if you're in a room with women who support you and lift you up, when you have those days where you're going back into yourself and maybe the things you heard as a child that you shouldn't be doing certain things, I think that that's really what pushes you forward. So again, confidence in your voice, but also the community that you lift up and those who lift you up as well.
Well, thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And I think you're so right. Confidence is just absolutely key. My mom used to say to all the kids in our family, let them know you're there. But if you don't have confidence, that's hard to do. But I think the more you do it, the more confidence you have. So it's just getting over that hump. And then you have to wrestle with being too confident, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Is there ever such a thing? I don't know.
Let's move on to my friend Susie Gharib, who is the anchor and senior special correspondent for Fortune. Susie, congratulations, by the way, and thank you for everything you do. Tell me what you've learned. Gosh, we could talk all day about this, but tell me what you've learned about working in a male-dominated environment as a TV journalist, because certainly financial news, I think more than any other news genre, is really, or has been for a long time. I think things are changing, dominated by men.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, first of all, it's a great honor to be here, and it's great talking with you. And we could share a lot of stories on this, but to the point about confidence, my mantra was never give up and make yourself a necessity in the organization. And as you said, as a woman journalist covering the business world that is dominated by men, you had to show that you were really up to the task. And the TV business is all about ideas and stories and interviews. So I got very creative, always being an idea machine to, I have this story or I have this big interview that I can deliver on. And you got to know that even if you get turned down, you've got to be resilient and don't give up and keep at it. But as you know, it's a lot of hard work. You got to be persistent and you've got to deliver. And, over time, I got better and better at my craft. And, you get the credibility, you get the respect, and your producers and your peers know that, you're the go-to person. They know you can do the job and you can deliver on it. So, I say to all the young women who are listening is that keep at it, and don't give up. And if you just keep doing that over time, you'll get better and better, and good things will come your way.
Susie, I think you can't overestimate. I loved what you said about you coming up with your own ideas, because I think when you're in a new environment, you have to create your own opportunities. You cannot just sort of wait for people to hand things to you on a silver platter. So you have to be a doer, and you have to take a lot of initiative so that you will create the opportunities that will give you the chance to improve in whatever area you're working in. So I think that's so key. I always look for people who are go-getters and come up with ideas and say, what about this? What about that? Have you thought about this? Because you just want somebody who is excited and wants to be involved in the process.
Right.
How have you learned, or what have you learned to help you use your voice out in the world at large, not only in your own workspace, but just in the world in general, that has been able to help you help others?
Right. Well, I think a lot of what you were saying earlier about the enthusiasm and the confidence surely does help. But a couple of years ago, a friend of mine, actually it was many years ago, gave me this book called Getting to Yes. And it was about how to negotiate without giving in. And I think that has something to do with getting your voice out there. I learned a lot from the book, and one of the things it really helped me with was to let go of emotion, frustration, and anger, and to find more thoughtful and smarter ways to get your point across, or to get to an agreement on something. And it's still true today. I still think it's hard for women to be heard. It's nice to see so many women getting into leadership positions, not just in media, but in every industry and in politics and everywhere. And I think that many women are having a seat at the table and are being heard and respected. But I think it'll take time. One thing, like you, I've been very impressed by the young leader Girl Scouts we've been hearing from all week long, and they're ambitious, they're confident, and just the way they present themselves with such poise and enthusiasm. I'm very hopeful about the future.
I am too, but sometimes, just a quick aside, I get sort of upset about the implicit bias that seems to continue to surface and plague female leaders, where they're judged using different standards. They're criticized for things that men wouldn't be criticized for. And I encourage people, when they are like that, to take a look at themselves and their own cultural conditioning and education and the attitudes that they were raised with. Do you think that's going to change, Susie, at some point?
Oh, gosh.
As women leaders become less of a novelty, I guess?
I hope so. I'm very impressed with the female CEOs who I interview, and they're not in the soft industries. They're like running Lockheed Martin, and they're defense companies, car companies like General Motors and Mary Barr. I'm very impressed with them and their poise. But back to what Lydia said earlier, I still think people generally expect women to be nice and cooperative and not stir up the pot. And the ones who can kind of play along, but maybe have some oomph behind it, are the ones who succeed. But I do find that the women who make it to the top and are leading these big companies in America have the whole package. They're smart. They're pleasant to listen to. They're powerful. They're pulled together. And so I am hopeful for the future. It's very different than when I started out many years ago.
Definitely. Well, I'd like to raise a cup to the pot stirrers across America and the globe. Keep on keeping on, ladies. So thank you, Susie. By the way, given her extraordinary leadership on the national stage, I was really excited, everyone, to have an opportunity to sit down for an exclusive Girl Scout interview with Sherrilyn Ifill earlier this week to talk about her journey as president and director counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, and the significance of being honored as a woman of distinction. Let's take a look. Sherrilyn Ifill, so great to see you. Congratulations on being named a Girl Scouts of Greater New York 2020 Woman of Distinction.
Thank you, Katie. It's an honor to be recognized and to have this conversation with you as well. you have emerged as one of our nation's leading voices in the struggle for racial justice and racial equality. And I know you've been doing it for a very long time. So first and foremost, thank you, Sherrilyn, for the incredible work that you do each and every day. Your leadership is, I think, truly what makes you a woman of distinction. And I wanted to ask you about getting this award at this very pivotal moment in time when racial justice has taken center stage. And I think it's just been such a defining moment. So what does it mean to be recognized at this moment in time?
Addressing and confronting discrimination and inequality is something that we have to do every day in a democracy. And so we do that work every day. But then there come these moments when people see things very, very clearly and demand change. And that is the moment that we're in. And so to be recognized in that moment, to have people recognize the importance of civil rights, but also of civil rights lawyers, I have to tell you, it's been kind of lovely to see people recognize the work that we do and how important that work is in protecting our democracy for everyone.
Can you give us a sense of some of the situations that you're dealing with on a daily basis?
We are representing people who very often have felt that their voice has not had value. And so the ability to take the stories of our clients who have faced some injustice, who have faced employment discrimination, who have faced voter suppression, whose families are facing issues in the criminal justice system. These are cases that, we have to get our hands around and try to protect the individual. But what we're also doing is, most of all, trying to change things at the systemic level so that we're affecting more than just one person, but that we're helping make the pathway to equality and opportunity easier.
Were you a Girl Scout, Sherrilyn?
I was not. I would have loved to have been a Girl Scout. I would have been over the moon. So I could not wait to have my daughters in Girl Scouts. And it was actually only my youngest daughter who was a Scout. And really loved it and enjoyed it. And I loved being a Scout mom because I didn't get to be a Scout when I was, how her enjoyment of it and what it meant for her to be able to engage in Scouting.
What advice would you give young women today in terms of achieving their dreams and also overcoming obstacles that they may face?
It's good to be striving to be ambitious. I'm a big believer in ambition. But I would try to encourage young women to dial down the anxiety, which is easier said than done. But I think it helps to know that you're on a long arc, of trying to be what you're trying to be. And you do get to start over and you do get to make mistakes.
How do you think organizations like the Girl Scouts encourage girls to appreciate, understand their self-worth and get out there and take on the world in all kinds of ways?
Well, you need space to find your strength and your voice and to see what you're good at and even to learn what you're not good at in a space that's safe. And so I always feel like Scouting was so lovely because it allowed girls to find their strengths, to see their weaknesses without feeling kind of exposed, and to feel like there was a space where they had a voice. And to learn, what you're good at and what you're not good at, and to feel that you can kind of stretch in an environment that is safe.
Well, Sherrilyn, it's been so fun to talk to you and so inspiring as always. Thank you very much and congratulations on your award. It's so richly deserved.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thank you to the Girl Scouts. So appreciate you.
Love that, Sherrilyn Ifill. She's so terrific and so brilliant. And now I'm excited to introduce Heath, not Heath, who is Director of Market Engagement, the B2B Institute at LinkedIn. Hi, Ty. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. This is such an honor. Congratulations to everyone. And having been a Girl Scout myself, this is a particular honor.
How did the Girl Scouts shape you? I'm just curious, Ty.
Oh my gosh, I had a chance to think about that. And I thought about all of the different lessons I learned that prepared me for the role I'm in today. So it was my first exposure to marketing, sales, doing great customer service, working together as a team. I didn't even realize all of the different skills I was learning along the way that I now apply in my job today.
Well, social media can be such a force for good and force for the opposite of good. And I'm curious, how can women use social media platforms like LinkedIn for their own personal growth, and also to talk about the issues that really matter?
Absolutely. I call social media the conversation before the conversation. It's the virtual conversation before you have the conversation in real life. So speaking specifically about LinkedIn, when you have a LinkedIn profile, oftentimes it's anyone's first entrance into who you are. So people, before they meet you, they might do a search about you online, or maybe they'll go directly to LinkedIn to learn a little bit more about you. And when you have a profile, oftentimes it's the number one result when people search. So the question then becomes, what story are you telling? How are you showing people with the pictures and words you use, what you're committed to, what you're passionate about, what you aspire to create in the world? So there's a real opportunity there. And yeah, there's so much potential for us to be intentional with our influence. I read somewhere was a stat that said that we have the capacity to influence 80,000 people in our lifetime. And I was like, wow. And so for those of us who are active on social, it's probably multiples higher, which means that we don't need permission to speak into people's lives. Every word you share, every picture you share is part of that platform, is part of the influence that you're building. But it takes courage. So I'm hearing this reflected in the responses from the other folks today on the panel. It takes courage, because when you share something, it opens you up for other people to then share your opinion. And what has been helpful to me in terms of showing up with courage is to think about the community that you represent and what you're committed to, and to think this is being done in service of, and to think of every interaction as an opportunity to build something.
That's such a great attitude, because it takes a lot of courage to go on social media today. That's for sure. And it's something that I've tried to use in a very positive way to help enlighten and educate. And just while we're at it, a shameless plug, all you Girl Scouts, sign up for my newsletter. It's called Wake Up Call. Just go to katiecouric.com. I'll be in your inbox every morning, at least attempting to make sense of this crazy world we're living in. Ty, speaking of this crazy world, what have you learned about navigating and leading during this time of really just, I don't even think disruption is a good enough word.
Yeah.
It's full out insanity. And what's happening in our country with polarization, people not being able to speak with each other, obviously a lot of heartache from the pandemic, the politicization of the pandemic. I mean, how do you continue to keep your wits about you and your head on straight and lead during such a crazy time?
Right. So it's so true. People are struggling. And what I've learned is that context, the way we look at what we're dealing with, is so decisive. And so the way I'm choosing to look at this time is that challenging times allow us to emerge in a stronger place. We see this in this time. I'm so encouraged by how we're seeing each other's humanity more, right? Mm-hmm. I'm so encouraged by how we're supporting each other, whether it's the way we cheer on and support essential workers, it's how we take care of our neighbors, it's the investment that people are making in following the guidelines around physical distancing so we can emerge stronger from this time. And so we will emerge stronger. I think the key is also recognizing that though things are challenging, all of us are response able. All of us are capable of doing something, of taking some action to make things better for all of us. So my advice to leaders, and everyone has the capacity to lead, is to find a cause worthy of your life and don't go after that cause alone. Think about how you can roll together as a community. You can't go wrong investing in community, and work on your capacity to bring people along in the journey. So I really do believe the path forward isn't simple, but community is key.
And as you said, our common humanity. And sometimes I think if we just focused on what we have in common instead of what divides us, I think our basic wishes in life are so similar that there would be less rancor and polarization. But Ty, thank you very much for all you're doing. And thank you for for those wise words as well. And now I'm excited to introduce Mary DeGrazia, our next woman of distinction. She's Associate Managing Director of Cyber Risk at Kroll. Mary, congratulations to you and welcome.
Good morning. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Well, it's an honor to honor you. Tell me why you decided, of all things, and I shouldn't say of all things, because why not? Why did you go into cybersecurity?
Oh my gosh. So I have to tell you, my dad brought home when I was probably in about the third grade an Apple II Plus computer. I know I'm probably dating myself here, but I found that I just loved computers. Kind of hopped around in different careers for a while and finally settled into cyber, which I found was really cool. It kind of took all these different aspects of computer science. So programming, networking, troubleshooting, and rolled it up into an investigation. So when we think about, doing an investigation, it's like opening up the medicine cabinet in someone's house and going through it and learning about them. Or, you're looking at their computer. So it's taking this technical world and tying it in with the investigative approach, asking questions, pulling on the threads until you find out what's going on. And in the process, we get to stop bad people from doing bad things.
That's always a nice added benefit, right? And how do you think we can get increased leadership pathways for girls in STEM careers and other male-dominated professions? What could we be doing better, Mary?
I think mentoring. I think putting other leaders out there that are women to set as role models, as they're progressing throughout their career. Also just encouragement, family members, support systems, that attitude of, hey, you can do this. I have faith in you. I know my husband played a key role in that. A lot of times I tell him, hey, guess what happened? I got a promotion. He's like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I was the surprise one. And he's like, I saw that in you all along. I think, too, mentorship is so important. Being a woman in this industry, of course, we are outnumbered a lot. I remember going through classes, looking around, and I would be the only woman there, or maybe one other woman. So having a group of other women to connect with, communicate with, ask them, hey, what did you do in this situation? I'm running up against this issue. You've blazed this path before me. What advice do you have for me from your perspective? All of those things, I think, can help and assist women as they progress throughout their career and take those next steps that they need to.
Well, Mary, congratulations on your honor, and I'm so glad you were able to be with us this morning. And finally, I have May Tuan, who's the founder and managing partner. May has the longest title, but let me get through it. The founding and managing partner, Phoenix Partners, LLC, and founder, Notch Partners, LLC. May, that's a mouthful. How do you fit that on your business card?
With skill.
I'm sure. May, finance is another, of course, male-dominated field, as we were talking to Susie about. So what are the greatest barriers you've faced in pursuing your career in finance?
I think that first and foremost, that it's because there are so few women in these fields. Historically, to succeed in business and finance, your world needed to be focused on making money. Most women's lives are much more complex and multifaceted to include other things like their families or their neighbors or their communities. So there are few like-minded people in the field to begin with, not to mention hardly any at all in positions of authority. This, in combination with the fact that most women have bigger fish to fry than making that incremental dollar, causes many exceptional women to opt out, leaving few left to inspire or mentor younger aspiring female leaders. I think this is a vicious cycle that plagues many women in business and finance today.
Well, that's depressing, May. So what can we do about it? What do you think, what can businesses do to make, especially in finance, make their environments more hospitable to women who, as we know, and we've seen in this so-called she-cession that we've witnessed during this pandemic, so many women dropping out of the workforce. What needs to change to make this, a much better situation for working women and, of course, for working mothers too?
I think that businesses need to tie compensation to diversity and inclusion metrics. I think people should get paid on promoting women in the workforce. For me personally, I knew I was never going to care enough about economics to succeed purely on that basis. Instead, I focus on learning the game, figuring out how to win, and pulling the levers of success longer and harder than anyone else, man or woman. I'm a very competitive person, and I don't like to lose. Sometimes it would be discouraging when there would be obstacles I couldn't control, like being the only woman in the room or not getting recognized for work I'd accomplished. Even when I cannot control for these factors, I can control how I respond to them. I refuse to let them get me down. So I would say to all the girls out there, don't underestimate yourself, even when you're the only woman or person of color in the room. Put yourself out there. Sit in the front row. Sit at the table. Speak up. Your thoughts and opinions are as valid as anyone else's. The other piece of advice I give to girls is that when you see another girl in need, put yourself in her shoes and support her no matter what.
Well, that's great advice, and I really appreciate your candor, and congratulations on all your success in spite of, the numbers often working against you. So this is really impressive what you've been able to achieve. So congratulations to you.
Thank you, Katie.
Glenda McNeil is the president, Enterprise Strategic Partnerships at American Express. Hi, Glenda.
Hi, Katie. Very nice to see you. And I'd like to thank the Girl Scouts of Greater New York for this honor and to congratulate my fellow honorees. Thanks.
Well, I'm happy you took that opportunity because I know everyone feels the same way. Glenda, I know you're the youngest of 8 children. You grew up on a farm in Louisiana, and you're now a president at American Express. Tell me what qualities got you to where you are today and what you learned as the youngest. I'm the youngest too, but only of 4. But as the youngest of 8 on a farm in Louisiana, how did you get from there to here?
Well, it was a little bit of a jagged ride, but I'm here. And it's, I would say that I would start with the fact that I had strong values. I grew up with strong values as a child, and I would lead then with integrity and doing what's right. So honesty and being fair, I think were key. My father had 7 daughters of the 8.
Wow.
We did everything. And we learned that good hard work translates into a strong work ethic. There was really no substitution for good performance. And so there were high expectations in our family. I grew up with a sense of belonging, which gave me self-esteem, and that grew into confidence over time. And I think when you're confident, that breeds confidence in you from others. And so I've seen that time and again. I would say one of the key differentiating factors for me, however, is being authentic. I was allowed to be who I was growing up. And I think being centered in my values, I've really grown to be comfortable in being who I am, and not being persuaded on any given day to be someone that I'm not. And I think that authenticity is really a key part for us to kind of know who we are. And in that, to find our voice. What you say, when you say it, and how you say it, I think is very important. I realized that I had to find my voice early. You can imagine the last of 8.
Yeah.
Sitting around the table, trying to make sure that you were heard. And I think the other piece of that is being able to be persuasive. Because getting people, older siblings, to do what you want them to do, to listen to you, created a confidence around my ability to influence others. And I've been able to see that grow over time. And finally, I think it's knowing that I have a seat at the table and that I belong there. Being bold enough to have a story, own that story, and believe it, and not needing outside validation. I'm still a work in progress. That little girl from South Louisiana is still very much alive in me. And I think having that keeps me focused on continuing to want to achieve and do well.
You're making me off the Klimt. It's so moving to hear your story. And by the way, I know that you're the first Black female executive to sit on the company's executive committee. When you were sitting there, how did you say, I know you obviously have told yourself repeatedly and appropriately, yes, I belong here. But what message do you think the way you occupy that seat, Glenda, what message does that send to other women in the company, especially women of color?
Well, I think it says that everything is possible, right? My story is an interesting story. Not only was I the last of 8, my parents were divorced when I was 4. And so having a level of confidence and being able to show young girls, and particularly women of color, that if you work hard, if you work smart, if you're aware of who you are and be comfortable being who you are, and that you create a community around you that believe in you. I've been fortunate to have amazing role models in my life. You can imagine when my siblings weren't parenting me, I had a lot that I could learn from them. And so it started there. But I also believe that being a role model is about the reflection of your personal values, your attributes, your behaviors. And I see role modeling as a privilege and as a responsibility, because we are able, through our lives and our careers, show young women that it's okay to dream big and that we're an example of what's possible. We often see role models demonstrating confidence and courage. However, in these times, I think it's really important for us to also show vulnerability and humility. We're all going through very difficult times now. And to be able to actually show that other side, not as a weakness, but as an opportunity to open up space for us to have shared conversations, really, I think, creates a different type of relationship. And that relationship kind of breeds trust, which during this time, I think we all can benefit from. So I believe that being at that table allows me to bring a different perspective, to be able to speak on behalf of voices that haven't been at that table, and to be able to understand the insights from other people and perspectives that are very different than mine, that might not understand the current circumstance, and to be able to actually help to guide that and to influence that. So I think I'm very fortunate, and I think the time is right for me to be able to be at that table and other tables that I'm fortunate enough to be in. But we have to remember that we're making a difference for the future generations, and I'm honored to be able to have that privilege.
Well, you definitely are, and congratulations. Obviously, you richly deserve this award like the rest of our honorees, and thank you for what you're doing, not only for yourself, but for all women, and being such a great role model for so many, because I'm on the advisory board of an organization called See Her. And the whole thing is, if you can't see her, you can't be her. It's all about having images of women and doing great things so it can inspire younger women like Despina. So thank you for everything you're doing, Glenda. So we have one last question for all our honorees. I feel like I'm back on my talk show. So let's go around the horn, as it were. And the question I'd like to ask all of you is, if you could, I don't personally like this question, so this isn't my question, but don't worry, you're going to do a good job on this. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? And Glenda, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I would say, don't be afraid. And what I mean by that is I would tell myself to be who you are unapologetically, stand up for what you believe intentionally, love and be loved freely, forgive yourself frequently, and live life boldly. Be fearless.
May, how about you?
I would say, speak up. Allow your voice to be heard, and never let anyone make you believe that your opinion doesn't matter, because it does.
Awesome. Mary, okay, I take it back. I like this question. Mary, what about you?
I would say step out of your comfort zone. When something comes your way and you're not sure you want to do it, or you don't know, or you don't think that you can do it, go for it. And you know what? It's okay to fail. You've learned something in the process when you do it. So just step out of that comfort zone and do it.
Ty, what about you?
Don't roll alone. When things get hard, your community is what sustains you. So invest in community, move together. And shameless plug, if you're looking for a community to build with, Transform Her on LinkedIn is a great place to invest. We build with women of color and allies together. So feel free to check that out.
All right, awesome. Susie?
I'd say go for it. You can do it. Don't let your fears and your anxieties and your worries trip you up. And I know passion is such an overused word, but really let your passion, the things you believe in, drive your decisions. So think big, take risks, and go for it.
And finally, Lydia?
Power comes from within. If you want it in your life, then it's up to you to go get it. So don't look left and right your whole life for other people to give you things. If you want something, you have to go for it, and you have the power to do it. So go after what you want, girls.
Well, thank you all to the 2020 Women of Distinction honorees. You are all so impressive, honestly, and your thoughtful leadership is just what we need to create change and carve paths for young women and girls as they take action and lead. Now, as we pass the torch to a very special Girl Scout, I would like to once again introduce Despina Anastasio as she steps into her role as the 2020 Woman of Distinction. Despina?
Good morning. My name is Despina Anastasio, and I am an ambassador Girl Scout and a senior at Dominican Academy High School in New York City. My Girl Scout journey began 13 years ago as a daisy in my local church, St. Catherine's. Back then, I was excited to plant trees in parks, sing in nursing homes, and recite the Girl Scout pledge, which I was so proud to have memorized. Yet as time progressed, I discovered that there is so much more to Girl Scouts than I had ever imagined. This one organization, which I thought only existed in my local church, was actually just one of the many that belong nationwide. As my knowledge grew, so did my desires to take Girl Scouting to the next level. Each year, my confidence and voice enlarged, and I slowly began ready to share more with my community and the world around me. Starting off small, I founded a Model United Nations Club my sophomore year of high school, which now has over 50 girls excited to be a part of political conversations, an area where many women are pushed away from. As time progressed, I was elected as the school's debate, campus ministry, and glee club president, and captain for my school's varsity soccer team. All these titles seem like great acknowledgments inside a school, but in reality, they are all connected to the messages Girl Scouts instilled within me. One being to let go of your fears and step outside of your comfort zone, try for the highest positions, but at the same time, keep in mind who you're representing, consider all individuals' opinions, and do everything for the sole purpose of the common good. These simple yet highly important values pushed me to go further and see the world with a different perspective. Growing up in a family that is so connected to their Greek heritage, I visit annually Chios, Greece, the island where I'm from. While most go to enjoy the beautiful Mediterranean Sea, there are injustices happening right in front of our eyes. Since 2016, the refugee crisis on the Greek islands have escalated to the point where the country can no longer provide for the migrants entering. I specifically noticed this 2 summers ago on my morning walk to the bakery, where I noticed crippled children hungry and scared. My concern allowed me to connect with Metabrasi, an organization in Greece created to help refugee orphan children fleeing their home countries. I was able to connect with these children while eating ice cream, playing games, and learning their stories, and I noticed how there are more similarities than differences between us. In the end, we're all kids, and even though we didn't speak the same language, I have never connected with anyone more on that level. When I came back to New York, I had the Girl Scouts to share my thoughts and concerns with, and I was encouraged to research what is occurring around the world and how to become a global citizen. At the same time that this was occurring, my thoughts revolved around who and what to center my Gold Award project on. Through what became my project, We Can All Dance, I combined my passions of international relations and dance. Each week, I connected with this organization called Dancing Dreams, which allows me to teach kids with physical and mental disabilities the art of dance, always looking for new ways to fit the specific needs of every child. Wanting to take my project even further, I connected with an organization called Traveling Tutus, which allowed me to send over 138 dance costumes to developing countries. The main mission was that even those with physical, mental, or socioeconomic difficulties, everyone deserves the equal chance to dance, and I am so grateful for all the young girls and boys I was able to learn from and form meaningful relationships with, and the impact we were able to have with each other. Recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, my attention turned to the most prone to the virus, the elderly. I started my own nonprofit organization called Epistles for the Elderly. I gather students nationwide to write personal correspondence with nursing home patients to combat isolation caused by the pandemic. Our organization has sent over 2,000 letters, and we continue to grow each day. Above all, Girl Scouts is the reason I was motivated to make change. They were the backbone that allowed me to learn more about myself and the voice I so eagerly wanted to share with the world. Now, especially during these troubling times, it would be difficult for me to stand back and watch. Instead, I will be a part of the conversation, and alongside me, I will stand next to other females who will make sure a positive change occurs in the world. Thank you.
Yay, Despina. You'd be hearing roaring applause if we were all in a room together, Despina. Thank you so much. You're so impressive, and the world is in great hands with young women like you in it. So thank you and congratulations. And thank you again for your just extraordinary accomplishments already at 17. I can't wait to see what you do next. So
thank you so much.
Thank you, Despina. Really, so great. And now we have a very special message from Monique Harena, who is a Women of Distinction co-chair and Girl Scouts of Greater New York board member.
Thank you again for joining us this morning for our live fireside chat celebrating our 2020 Women of Distinction. My name is Monique Harena, and I'm a board member of the Girl Scouts of Greater New York and co-chair of this year's event, along with my colleagues Randy and Bellanne. On behalf of all of us and 38,000 Girl Scouts from across all parts of New York City, I am so thrilled that you have taken part in this moment to celebrate our city's most powerful women leaders. As we've seen throughout this week, Girl Scouts of Greater New York is deeply committed, now more than ever, to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. In providing leadership development opportunities for girls and young women, we're working to ensure that every girl feels empowered to lead in her community, the workplace, and the world. Our innovative leadership programs create access for girls and young women to become even more deeply engaged in their communities, to explore, develop, and contribute their own unique skills, talents, passions, and abilities to make a positive impact. Most importantly, we support each girl in finding her own voice, to speak truth to power, and to find courage to make sure her voice is heard. We urgently need your generous support today. Please give by going to www.wodnyc.org and click on the green Support Now button at the top of the screen. That's www.wodnyc.org. Then please share this link and the amazing video of our honorees, community leaders, and future women of distinction with your family, friends, and colleagues. Thank you again for joining our 2020 Women of Distinction celebration. We could not do this work without your generosity, your active participation in the Girl Scouts movement in New York City today, tomorrow, and in the future, so that we can all live in a world led by more powerful women leaders like the ones you've heard from here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monique. And I think everyone will be inspired to support the efforts of this wonderful organization by helping young women like Despina achieve their dreams and open up all kinds of opportunities for them in the future. I'm sorry that we had to do this Girl Scout breakfast virtually. Nevertheless, I just want you to know I feel very close to all of you. I really enjoyed our conversations. Congratulations again to all our honorees. Thank you for what you do each and every day. I've learned a lot this morning, and I'm so inspired by you as well, even though I've been around for quite a while. So thank you so much, Meredith, for allowing me to be a part of this wonderful celebration. And now back to you to close out the program.
Katie, thank you so much. Of course, once a Girl Scout, always a Girl Scout. Congratulations and thank you so much. This was an incredible conversation, and we will do this in person one day. And just congratulations to all of the amazing honorees. You inspire, you're transparent, you bring your authentic self to us this morning, and it's so important at this time for girls to see that they see themselves in all of you. So I am so appreciative of that. And I want to really thank our visionary sponsors, American Express, Lulu Wang, our co-chairs of the committee, Monique Harena, Randy Liodice, and Belan Angarelli. I also want to thank the entire committee and our board of directors. Without them, we would not be able to serve more girls in more powerful ways. As a third-generation Girl Scout, a Gold Award Girl Scout, and as a mom of 5 Girl Scouts, I can tell you there is no organization that is more relevant or necessary for girls at this point in time. We stand facing at the intersection of a global pandemic, civil unrest, and a recession. And it is known that women and girls, and especially those of color, are and will be impacted the most. Of the 38,000 girls we serve in New York City, 70% are from low-income households, and 70% are girls of color. Girl Scouting has always stood for equality, but by focusing on the marginalized or underserved, and by striving to reach every girl, we are making the leadership program in New York City equitable. School and everyday life for girls has lost a sense of stability, but Girl Scouting has not. We have doubled down on our commitment to ensure every girl can participate virtually and every family can count on us to provide stability, continuity, and a much-needed sense of belonging. Because of support from individuals like you, we were able to pivot our programs to be virtual, to be responsive to our girls' needs, and to be a solution for the city to better serve families. And we introduced more than 6,000 new girls to Girl Scouting programs virtually. The Girl Scout leadership experience comes through many signature programs other than the troop experience. For instance, the Leadership Institute, Cybersecurity Camp, virtual day camps, and the inspiring and important initiative of Troop 6000, where we have served more than 1,500 women and girls experiencing homelessness. By transferring our programs to virtual and blended models, girls can seamlessly continue their leadership journey straight from the Zoom classroom to the boardroom of their choice. The girls you've seen and the honorees you've heard empower and inspire. You can too. You can be a part of the solution. By donating today, you can tell a girl in New York City she matters. You can pledge your commitment to making the world more equitable and just, and you can invest in your future by investing in a girl. Please text WOD to 44321 now to help these girls make the world a better place. To all of you, please be safe, stay well, stay healthy, keep focused on the future, and I hope to see you in person soon. Thank you so much for joining us and for your support.